our Spider-Man 3 review. As we said in our other two reviews, we're getting you guys ready for Spider-Man Homecoming. We're not going to be doing the Amazing Spider-Man series. We'll save that for the sequel. But getting to the task at hand here, Spider-Man 3 came out back in May 2007. Yeah, I have those same sentiments. I had skyrocket expectations after Spider-Man 2 because that film is, to me, one of the greatest comic book films ever. And there are some really good things in this film. I don't hate it as much as I used to. I'm not saying it's a good movie.
It definitely has like some good moments and some good ideas, just really bad execution.
Yes.
Really bad execution.
That I agree with. I'd say we'll get into it when we talk about the nitpicks, the flaws, and all that stuff. But
this is going to be most of this review.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we'll go over a few good things that were in this movie too on rewatch. So, like I said, I don't hate this movie as much as I used to. I think the biggest reason I don't hate it as much is it's not as bad as the garbage film known as Amazing Spider-Man 2. That film is just atrocious, and in comparison to this is not as bad, honestly. So, like we said, there are some good ideas. I think the biggest thing this film suffers from, there's a lot of tonal shifts that do not balance and work out. It almost feels like a parody of itself in a way in certain scenes. And
I feel like they just try to take it in too many different directions.
Too many
villains. Like, I think, in the beginning, I'm like, oh, Harry's the villain in this movie. This is going to be sick. But then they just bonk him on the head 3 seconds after the fight. It was a cool fight, actually. But then, he gets, a concussion. And then he's just, totally incapacitated for a little while. And then they introduce Sandman and then obviously Venom. But I feel like the whole Sandman story, they tried to tie it back into the first one, like with him killing Uncle Ben. But totally unnecessary. And Venom could have been cool. Like, even watching it again, I didn't mind Topher Grace as much, but I just feel like if they'd have made him the villain from the start, then it would have been much, much better. I don't know.
Speaking of Topher Grace, my opinion, total miscast. They got the completely wrong actor to play Eddie Brock.
He wasn't good, but he's not as bad as, I remember.
I'm not talking if he's good or bad. I'm just saying complete miscast. The way I view Eddie Brock and Venom is the way they did it in the comics and in the animated series from the 90s, where he's got that bigger bulk physicality. He's a little bit of a harsher, tough ass. He's not so much as the jokey, trying to outquip Peter or doing that kind of thing. So
Eric Foreman.
So look, and I get it. I like Topher Grace. He's a really good actor. He's just completely, for me personally, miscast as Eddie Brock Venom. They could have gotten someone way better to play this role, or someone that just fits the role better. Also, I think that, like you said earlier, just there are a lot of plot lines going on in this film. You got Harry, from what happened in the first two films, now becoming the Goblin. We got the Sandman storyline. I kind of agree with you. It was a little unnecessary tying it in. I would have just found it fine if they just would have went. I just think it would have been fine if if he's going to be in the movie, just the daughter plot line where he's got to save his daughter. I can sympathize with that. He's got to make money. Totally fine, because I don't think Peter needed a reason to go into darkness. Just that suit going on him would make him go darkness enough. Not the thought of, I didn't really get, Uncle Ben's killer. So I think, again, they're just trying to do too many storylines, trying to do too many things. You got Gwen Stacy in the film also. That's another storyline. You got the subplot between Mary Jane and Peter's relationship. That's another storyline going on. There's a lot of things going on in this film. So, it's just hard to balance it all out in a 2.5 hour film. So...
And the movie just feels long.
It does.
I like long movies, but when a movie just feels like it's dragging on and taking forever, that's usually not a good thing. So,
especially in a Spider-Man movie, you want to have fun. You want the pacing to be quick. You want it to be again. You're not even thinking about time. You're just having a great time, having a fun time on this ride, and then, oh wow, the movie's over already? I didn't even notice. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. It did drag on. The pacing was not very good in this film.
And is it me, or does the CGI just suck in this movie? It's not good.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2 had way better CGI.
Oh, that's kind of one of my big complaints later on, which we will get to.
No, screw later on. Let's just do it now. I don't know what they did differently, but even all the Spider-Man scenes, all the fight scenes just look super fake. It doesn't look real.
Yeah, a lot of times where Tobey Maguire's mask is off, you can tell completely it's a CGI face. I believe they switched a visual effects supervisor from Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man 3. I think it was John Dykstra who was the visual effects supervisor, and then he went on to do Hot Wheels or something in 2006, 2007. And I forgot what the name was. I have it somewhere, but I forgot what his name was, who was the visual effects guy. And you could tell there's a total difference from 2 to 3. And I would even make a thing that some of the CGI is worse than the first movie.
Yeah, I agree. It just looks like I don't know.
It looks fake. It takes you out. It pulls you out of the scenes when it's told.
And I get it was an earlier era of CGI, but like we said, it looks way better in the second and even the first movie. So I don't really.
And again, there were some shots in the second movie we talked about with Alfred Molina, but they limited it. In this one, it was extended CGI face shots. Yeah. Watch the Tobey Maguire or watch the Peter Parker Harry fight scene at the beginning with the Goblin. You can see so many times where it's a CGI face. Same thing too in the end battle with Venom and Spider-Man when he's falling down from the web. Right. You can see a lot of CGI there, and it just pulls you out of the scene. Unfortunately, and a lot of the times. I
actually did kind of like the end battle, like when you see cool Peter and Harry working together, and that was cool to see. You know, it was a good payoff after 3 movies. But the CGI, wasn't very good. But still, I mean, that scene wasn't that bad.
I will say this too, like, and I'm not going to lie, it's not like I made this out of thin air. I got this from the Spider-Man 3 video game, and I think it would have worked out so much better in this movie. What happened was and I got Sandman's motivation. He's mad at Spider-Man because Spider-Man twice has ruined his plan to get money for his daughter, so it makes sense why he'd want to kill him. Yeah. Absolutely. I just think what would have been a little more compelling and sympathetic storyline on top of, stopping Spider-Man. In the video game Spider-Man 3, Venom kidnaps Sandman's daughter, and that's what makes him, because he doesn't want to kill Spider-Man, he just wants him out of the way. And then Venom says, "You're going to help me kill Spider-Man or I'm going to kill your daughter." And it's like Sandman has no choice at that point.
Higher stakes. I like that. I mean,
so I just thought, he's got a reason to, really fight and kill Spider-Man here. I mean, not that he didn't before, but this is just a little more compelling, like you said, higher stakes.
Because he even says he's not a bad person. He just, has dire circumstances. So.
Absolutely. And again, I related and could totally sympathize with what was going on with him. But like you said earlier, they were just so unnecessary with doing the Uncle Ben. So you didn't need to do that, and I get it. We want to have Cliff Robertson in the movie. You can do other flashbacks, but just totally unnecessary plotline that didn't really need to be there. Another thing we got to talk about is something that really just, not going to say bothered me, but it really just didn't work for me in comparison with the other two. Obviously, the tone of this film just really doesn't work for me because there's so many different tones of this film. But the biggest change that really bothered me on top of the storyline not being as good as the first two, Danny Elfman is no longer the composer in this film. Christopher Young was, and the only thing I had remembered Christopher Young before this was Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, so I had not had a lot of history with this guy, but the score in this movie is okay. That's the problem. Bad. It's not bad, but it's not great like the first two films. It's got definitely some of Danny Elfman's themes from the first two. Yeah,
definitely use the
themes, but you can tell there's da-da-da-da-da. He changes it up and does a few other things that just doesn't work for me. I would have loved to have seen what Danny Elfman would have done with the darker side of Spider-Man, especially coming off of what he did with the first two films. And also, too, I will say this, though, for Christopher Young, there is some stuff in his music that I did like at the end when Venom stabs Harry when he impales him. That was some good music. The dramatic, emotional music there was really good. And also when Harry dies, some good dramatic music there, too. So there was some stuff I did like. I just really wish they would have got Danny Elfman back. It really, didn't feel as much like the first two films music-wise, and you could tell.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely hurts, too, when he did the first two movies and we're so used to that style and that score. And while I did use a few themes in this movie, you can definitely tell it was just a different vibe overall. And this whole movie kind of had a different vibe because of it.
It did. It just didn't feel like... And again, we're not saying that films have to be exactly the same in tone or the same kind of film. Because like Captain America 1 and to Captain America 2, that's a spy thriller to a World War I, time period piece. So, tones don't have to be the same, but still, like, the storyline and the continuity, it just didn't feel like it was set in almost the same. And characters were acting so out of character.
And part of it, too, I think, like, even before the symbiote thing went on Peter, he was, like, being a dick the whole movie, even before that. He was on an
ego trip.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, he was treating Mary Jane like shit.
With the kiss with Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, what the hell was it? And he knew she was in the crowd, like, right there. Like, what is he doing? Had he
been infected with the darkness at that point, and then he did the Gwen Stacy, I'm like, I get why Peter Parker did. He hadn't been. I'm like, why is he doing?
And he just kept trying to make everything about himself, and was driving Mary Jane away. Like, he was just being a douche.
And watching his quotes, I'm like, I used to actually hate Mary Jane. I'm like, she is so stuck up in this movie. After rewatching it a couple times.
Well, she is a little bit in the beginning, but like, he is making her be like that.
He is totally making her be like that with the lines, and I get it. They had to drive them away a little bit. Something else, I know we're kind of going into a lot of our nitpicks right now, but something else that really bothered me in this movie, and I get it, Peter was driving her away. When Harry makes her break up with Peter, it's like, and he's blackmailing her, and because he said, I'm going to kill Peter, it's like, your boyfriend's Spider-Man? You can just tell him and he'll take care of him. I'm not saying you'll kill him or something, but it's like, you can't, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know, like, it doesn't really make sense.
That was really
There's a lot of little things in this movie, they
A lot of plot holes too, I would say as well. But
it's not really a plot hole, but they also mentioned with Eddie Brock how he's like the new guy. But then they mentioned him in the first movie saying
as
that
an
he
Easter
was
egg.
Yeah, but so they kind of that wasn't really a big thing. But I just thought about that.
No, you're right. But Sam Raimi being such a big guy in continuity, especially in the first two movies, like if you watch the continuity of the first two movies, for the most part, it's really good. In this one, there's a lot of things like little things like that, details like Eddie, and again, it's an Easter egg. We're not going to penalize them like crazy on that, but you did mention Eddie Brock in the first movie, and I mean,
it just kind of feels like everyone involved was a little burnt out or something. Even the actors, like I feel like weren't as good in this movie. Like I don't know, the first two they were great, and this one they were kind of. I'm not gonna say they're mailing it in, but.
I feel like James Franco was pretty.
I always liked James Franco.
Yeah, I thought also Sandman, Thomas Hayden Church. I thought he gave a pretty good performance.
Yeah, he was good.
J.K. Simmons, what he's given to deal with, he's fantastic.
I wish they would have put him in more.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we got to talk about the humor in this movie. Obviously, there are some moments where I was definitely laughing out loud. There are other moments where I was cringeworthy, not laughing out loud and saying, "Why are you going this route?" Obviously, you know what I'm going to talk about.
Chill on this.
Thank you. You just read my mind. Come on. I don't want to see Spider-Man. I want to see him messing up stuff. I get it. He's a nerd, and that's what he thinks might be cool, and playing with his hair and dancing in the middle of the street with jazz music.
The number in the jazz club was cool, though. I got to give him credit for that.
Whatever. But look,
the
point I'm making is I want to see, like, and again, I know it's a tough moment when Peter hits her, just like stuff like that, getting Eddie fired. I wanted to see Spider-Man going over the limit, going over the line, almost killing guys and getting very close to pushing the limit. I just didn't feel like we got enough of that. I don't want to see Spider-Man dancing. I remember in the theater thinking, why is he I don't want to see him dancing right now. This is ridiculous. This is emo Spider. This is dark Spider-Man dancing.
A little like... Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm dark now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were kind of talking a little bit about the visual effects earlier, how the CGI just doesn't work. I will say there are some moments where, like, the end fight we talked about was really cool, and certain moments where Sandman is... But
CGI doesn't look good, but I still like the scene.
The CGI of Sandman, though, I thought was pretty good for the most part.
Not bad.
I will say, too, the scene where Gwen Stacy's being saved by Spider-Man, where he goes through the crane stuff and through the rocks, I thought that was pretty good CGI.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that.
He was jumping off the different parts. Yeah, that's cool. Not bad.
And also, too, I will say one of my nitpicks at the end where Mary Jane is captured in the thing. I get why they picked Mary Jane because, you know, going after a threat of Peter Parker's. I would have thought Eddie Brock would have chosen Gwen Stacy there because that
was his girlfriend, and he liked her still, kind of. So.
Well, no, I get that, but she kind of betrayed him. She went out with Peter, his arch enemy, and then I just felt like that would have been a little more.
But he probably knows that Peter cares way more about Mary Jane.
Well, no, that's a good counter. I just feel like it would have been sweet bitter revenge for him because Peter does in a little way. If you watch the earlier part of the film, he did care for Gwen Stacy. He's not going to say lay one on me, and also let him have his.
That was a little weird.
She was having the fingers on him, and then also too in the beginning, you could tell there was a little flirtation going on. And I get it. She's a gorgeous woman, by the way. Like I get it. But he does have a girlfriend, so it just. Like you said, he was on a major ego trip in this movie, so it didn't feel so Peter Parker-esque. It would have felt better, like we said, if he had been infected by the darkness before that all happened. So, all right, let's go into our favorite quotes. For me, anytime J. Jonah Jameson speaks is a win for me. I'll go into my favorite quote of his, though. He says, "You want a staff job? You want a staff job? Does anybody care about what I want?
I do.
Shut up. Get out." It's just like that humor was working for me because that was in fit and tone with the first two films.
And when he's like trying to take the pills and she keeps
that's so funny.
He's like,
by the way, there's a lot of shots in this movie of pills. There's one with J. Jonah Jameson in Aunt May's apartment. There's pills everywhere.
A lot, yeah.
I mean,
maybe they're on pills making this movie.
Well, yeah, who knows? It's a good point.
My favorite quote isn't serious, but I just like it too much. It's got to be Harry, man. I know that face.
I know that face. No, that was...
He's just hilarious in this movie. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I still think it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Let's go over really quick a couple more of our... I know we've been talking... This whole review feels like flaws and nitpicks. Just go over a couple more. Some of the other ones, when the meteor symbiote just comes down out of nowhere, there's absolutely zero explanation in this film.
Yeah.
Had they done, like, there's two ways they could have gone. They could have gone with John Jameson from the second film, film, Mary Jane's ex-fiance now, where he comes down on a rocket ship and the symbiote, he got it from space, and Spider-Man tries to save him and then it attaches itself to him. That would have made total sense. Another way they could have done where the symbiote just kind of lands in the park randomly, what they did in the cartoon, the animated series, Dormammu, who we saw in Doctor Strange, he he controlled it to go down there, and he got two symbiotes out of it. There was a black symbiote and the red symbiote. The red one went to, of course, Cletus Cassidy. The black one goes to Eddie Brock. So they would have gone like somewhere like that and done a little Easter egg of even Cletus Cassidy. I'm like, that makes sense, but there's no explanation. If they would have even just said Dormammu does it, even without explaining Dormammu as better than nothing, but I mean... Yeah, just no explanation, just so random. We're going to get into, really quick, just a couple little Easter eggs we noticed, because that's what we like to do on this channel, go over Easter eggs. Stan Lee, he has a little more of an extended cameo in this. He says the line, "Nuff said." It was kind of a thing he did in a lot of his comic panels. He'd say that. He'd say "Nuff said," so that was kind of like a little throwback for him, so I thought that was really cool. And on the, the end of the short editor's notes, so... We
also get the Bruce Campbell cameo again, as in all three. He plays like that French... the
maitre d'.
Yeah, exactly. he was the funniest, I think, in this one.
That was funny. I loved it.
Where he keeps thinking that they're already like, no, get away from me.
No, that was fun. And then and then he with the pen. That was his. I was laughing.
This was a good one.
Yeah, that was funny. The line, "Hang on, Mary Jane." That's in all three movies. Yeah, whenever he's saving Mary Jane in a peril situation. We get, of course, the second time in 3 Spider-Man films where we reference a DC character. He says Shazam. So thought that was kind of interesting. We got Mary Jane. There's that picture next to the bed. It's the one that Peter took of Mary Jane in the field trip in the first movie. So I thought that was cool continuity there. When the symbiote attaches itself to Peter's bike, it attaches itself and makes a V for Venom, so I thought that was pretty cool. Also, we got a little bit of kind of a little bit of a throwback reference to the first movie when Peter throws the exploding bomb into back at Harry and it kind of explodes his face. Harry's dad actually, the Green Goblin, did the same thing to Peter in their end battle in the first movie. The bomb went off in his face and blew off like half his mask, so kind of a little bit of a throwback reference there, so I thought that was kind of a cool little thing that happened. Final thoughts on this movie. As I said, Spider-Man 3 does have a lot of problems for sure. Like I said earlier, I don't hate it as much as I used to. I used to despise this film, almost to the level of Batman and Robin. It's not even close to that anymore. It's actually, there are some moments in it. There are some good entertaining moments for sure. There are some great ideas in this film. Just the execution is not there. The music is not like I said, the continuity, the music from the first 2 films, that was a big drag. The direction is not as on point as it was in the first 2 by Raimi. The acting is not as on par as it was in the first 2 as well. The continuity is not as good. There's a lot of plot lines that just do not get resolved in this movie, and there's just too much going on as well. Some of the CGI gives them, The Mummy Returns a run for its money for horrific CGI. In certain scenes, there are, of course, some good CGI moments for sure. There are some cool battles, but overall, this is not the satisfying way I wanted to end the Raimi trilogy on, and I wish they would have done the Spider-Man 4 with John Malkovich as the Vulture and Anne Hathaway as the Black Cat. We never got that. We got The Amazing Spider-Man, but... we got this, and I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go about a 6. This movie definitely had, like you said, some good ideas, and I liked where it started going, but then it kind of takes turns that I was like, okay, that's not needed, that's not needed. I mean, and the movie's, at some points, is kind of boring, actually, too. I just, wasn't really, I mean, it has some parts that are fun and good, and some funny moments for sure, but overall, just not nearly the quality of the first 2 movies, so I'm going to give it a 6. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments section, and if you like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.